How we met. If someone had told me that one completely ordinary day would eventually become the beginning of the most important relationship in my life, I probably wouldn't have believed them. Because when we first met, there was no romantic music, no perfect movie moment, no slow motion eye contact. Honestly, I almost didn't talk to her at all. And that's the part that still makes me laugh. Because sometimes the people who completely change your life don't arrive with a warning. They just show up, and you don't realize how important that moment is until much later. It started on a day when I wasn't even thinking about meeting anyone. I was at an event with my friends. There were people everywhere, music, laughter, people taking pictures. Everyone was having a good time, and I was just trying to find somewhere to sit for a moment. Then I noticed her. She was sitting with someone I knew. At first, I didn't think anything of it. I actually had no reason to walk over. But something made me stop. Maybe it was the way she was laughing. Maybe it was the fact that we happened to be wearing similar colors. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe life was quietly pushing me in her direction. I walked over and said, "Hey, I think I've seen you before." She looked at me, and we started talking. Nothing serious, nothing romantic. Just two strangers having a normal conversation. And somehow, I didn't want the conversation to end. We talked for a little while. I found out a little about her. She found out a little about me. And then something happened. I had to leave her a few minutes. I told myself, I'll come back. Simple, right? Except when I returned, she was gone. I looked around. Nothing. I tried to find her, but the place was packed. People everywhere. And I didn't even have her number. I remember thinking, well, I guess that's it. And honestly, I was disappointed. Because for some reason, I felt like I had just missed an opportunity. But there was nothing I could do, so I let it go. I went home and told myself, if we're supposed to meet again, we will. The next day, I'm scrolling through social media, and suddenly I see her picture from the event. I literally stopped scrolling. I looked at the screen and thought, wait, that's her. The girl I couldn't find. The girl I thought I'd probably never see again. There she was, on my screen. And that's when I did something that I normally wouldn't do. I asked a friend, do you know this girl? Within minutes, I had her name, and eventually I found her social media. I stared at the follow button for way longer than I want to admit, because suddenly I was nervous. What if she didn't remember me? I finally pressed it and waited. A little later, she accepted. And that tiny notification probably meant more to me than it should have. I sent her a message. Nothing complicated, just, hey. She replied. And somehow, that one word turned into a conversation. Then another conversation, then another. And before I knew it, we were talking almost every day. The strange thing was, I wasn't trying to impress her. I wasn't giving her some rehearsed speech. We just talked. About random things. Our lives, our goals, things we liked, things that annoyed us, things that made us laugh. Sometimes we'd talk for hours and then suddenly realize we had completely lost track of time. And that's when I started noticing something. Talking to her felt easy. There was no pressure to pretend, no need to act cooler than I was. I could just be myself, and she could be herself. That doesn't happen with everyone. But our story wasn't perfect. There were moments when we stopped talking. Days went by. Sometimes the conversation wasn't consistent. There were other people in our lives, other distractions, other things happening. And honestly, there were moments when I thought, maybe this isn't going anywhere. I could have walked away. She could have walked away. And maybe under different circumstances we would have. But somehow, we kept finding our way back to each other. And looking back now, that's one of the things I value most. Because our story wasn't built from one perfect moment. It was built from many small moments where we chose to reconnect. Then, one day, I realized I was thinking about her differently, not just as someone I enjoyed talking to, not just as a friend. I was starting to care, really care. And that scared me, because once someone becomes important to you, they also gain the ability to hurt you. You start wondering, does she feel the same? Am I imagining this? What if I say something and everything changes? So I stayed quiet for a while, and maybe she was doing the same thing. Two people, both feeling something, both pretending everything was completely normal. It's funny when you think about it. Sometimes two people can be standing at the same emotional door. We ate. Nothing extraordinary happened. And yet, I remember that day so clearly. Because sometimes the most meaningful moments don't look important while you're living them. You only understand their importance later. There was one moment that really stayed with me. We were sitting together, and she was talking about something she cared about. I wasn't even thinking about what I was going to say next. I was just listening. And I remember looking at her and thinking, I don't want this person to disappear from my life. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't just another friendship. This wasn't just another person I met. She had become someone I wanted to keep. Eventually, we stopped pretending. We talked about what we felt. We talked about what we wanted. We talked about whether this could actually become something real. And then, we decided to take that step. We became a couple. And I still remember how strange it felt, because the person I was now calling my girlfriend was once just a girl sitting in a crowd whom I almost didn't approach. Think about that. One conversation, one follow request, one message, one decision to come back and talk again, and suddenly, your entire life can take a different direction. But the most beautiful part of our story isn't how we met, it's what happened afterward. Because falling in love is easy to romanticize. The butterflies, the late-night conversations, the first dates, the excitement. But real love, that's different. Real love is learning someone's difficult sides. It's seeing them when they're stressed, when they're tired, when they're not at their best. It's learning how to communicate, how to apologize, how to listen, how to give each other space, how to stay when things aren't exciting. And that's what made me realize I didn't just want someone to fall in love with. I wanted someone I could build a life with. Sometimes she still asks me, what made you talk to me that day? And honestly, I don't have a perfect answer. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the matching outfit. Maybe it was simply good timing. Or maybe some people enter your life exactly when they're supposed to. I just know that if I had stayed where I was that day, if I had decided not to walk over, if I had ignored that little feeling telling me to say hello, our entire story might never have happened. And that's crazy to me, because we spend so much time waiting for huge moments to change our lives. But sometimes, your life changes because you say hello to someone. So if you're listening to this and you're single, don't worry so much about forcing your story. You never know where it's going to begin. It might happen at a party, at work, at school, through a friend, online. Or on a completely ordinary day when you're not looking for anyone at all. And maybe the person who changes your life won't arrive exactly the way you imagined. Maybe there won't be fireworks. Maybe there won't be some perfect first impression. Maybe you'll almost walk past them. Maybe you'll almost never see them again. But then something happens. A conversation, a message, a second chance. And suddenly, you're writing a story you never planned to write. That's how we met. Not perfectly, not according to some romantic movie script. Just two people, in the right place, at the right time, who decided to keep talking. And honestly, I'm really glad I said hello.